All right, new Torah portion, Parshas Vayeishev. We begin Bereshis, chapter 37, Genesis 37, verse number 1. We're going to get into the story of Yosef, the sale of Yosef, and everything. Okay.
Dreams of about the dreams of Yosef.
Exactly. And the dreams of Yosef. Okay, let's get right into it.
Page 251.
251 in the Chita's book. Vayeishev, and he settled Yaakov be'eretz Megurei Aviv. Yaakov settled in the sojournings of his father, be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Okay, lots over here. Lots over here. Vayeishev Yaakov, and Yaakov settled. After the Torah tells you, Yeshiva Esav, all of the settlings, the circumstances of the settling of Esav, and his offsprings, in a concise manner, because they were not treasured or esteemed by God. How in detail they settled, and to give an account of their battles. How they disposed of the Yechayri. Now comes the Torah to tell us in detail Yeshuva Yaakov, the Soldaisa, the settlings of Yaakov and his offspring, B'derech Arucha, in a lengthy manner. Kol Gilgulei Sibosem, all the turn of events and what caused them. Lefi Shehem Chashuvim. Why? Because Yaakov and his children are important. Lifnei Amalkum, before God. Laharich Bahem, to dwell at length about them. Similarly, you find Basara Dairis for the 10 generations. So he's just now bringing another circumstance where we see similarly the 10 generations that were from Adam till Noach, from Adam till Noach. Pliny, Haley, Pliny. The Torah just tells us that so and so begat so and so. Right? He was about the father or the son. It doesn't elaborate. But when it comes to Noach, Herich boy, the Torah elaborates about him, right? Likewise, this 10 generations from Noach to Avram. Kitzer by him, Torah is very brief about them. But when it comes to Avram, Herich boy, the Torah tells us at length about him, right? So Noach at length, Avram at length, Esav short, and Yaakov at length, right? Now he gives a metaphor for this. This can be compared to pearls that fell into the sand. A person feels through the sand, and he sifts it through a sifter until he finds the pearls. But once he finds the pearls, he throws away all the pebbles that were in his hand. And he takes the pearls. That's the first explanation of understanding of why the verse is speaking about the dwellings of Yaakov, and it's going to go at length into it. Okay? Davar acher, another explanation. Vayeishev Yaakov. Yaakov settled. This is now another metaphor. Hapishtani hazeh. There was a certain flax merchant. Nechnasu gemalav, whose camels entered a town to Unim Pishtan that were laden with flax on the camels. Chomni Sama, and the blacksmith wondered, Ana Yikanis is a Pishtan Hazeh. Where can all this flax be stored? So one clever guy said to him, one spark of that goes forth from your bellows, Shiseidiv is kulai, which will burn it all up. Kach Yaakov is alufim. Likewise, Yaakov, he saw all the chiefs of Esav, Aksuvim Lamaila, that were written above, Tama. He wondered, Va'amar, and he said, Me, who's going to be able to conquer all of them? There were so many, generals, so many chiefs, so many leaders of so many of Esav's descendants. Maksiv Lamata. So what is written below this now? Ela told us Yaakov Yosef, and these are the offsprings of Yaakov, Yosef, implying that Yosef is the solution for the problem of the chiefs of Esav. Uksiv, as it's written, Vahaya Beis Yaakov Eish. Now he's drawing from elsewhere. It says about the house of Yaakov that it is a fire. Obeys Yosef lahava, and Yosef, the house of Yosef, is a flame. Obeys Esav lakash, and the house of Esav is straw. Nitzutz yotzim Yosef, a spark that goes out from Yosef, shemechaleh, which will annihilate b'seirif es kulam and burn them all up.
Rabbi Fine, can you please keep scrolling?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah. So,
Always brave.
yeah, always. Yeah. So what is bringing over here to Rashi explain this? The juxtaposition from last week's parsha, the end of the parsha with Esav, right? So now that speaks about the chiefs was the last thing. Before that was the genealogy, right? So why is it juxtaposed to tell us how Yosef who is the offspring of Yaakov specifically, right? As the verse says, will be that spark that could now deal with all of Esav.
The same passage, Pasuk from Ovadia, was cited in the previous parasha.
Right. Yes.
The flame.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. That's true. Okay. Okay, next verse. Very interesting. So why does Rashi bring the second one and he's not satisfied with the first one? That's a question. The second one is just, I guess, the order of things, but not always the order of things are, something that you need to explain, but here he does.
One is to explain, and one is the future for Mashiach time.
No, we have one second. Remember, we're learning Pshuto Shemikra. We're not learning about Mashiach here. We're not learning about Mashiach.
About the future. It says when the Esav would be like the straw, and
yeah, but that's
in the future.
Yeah, but I know, but that's not the question. The question is we're learning Pshuto Shemikra. We're not learning anything else. So the question is in Pshuto Shemikra, why Rashi brings this? That's the question. But the fact that it means that is not the question. Well, how's it got to do with Pshuto Shemikra?
Just showing its importance of Yaakov.
You're not understanding. You're not
understanding the future.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. That's not an answer to any question I just asked. That's not an answer to this. Pshuto Shemikra means Rashi has to prove it from the verse. It's not about what Torah is coming to say here in Drush, right? It's not about Drush. How is it Pshuto Shemikra? That's the question. So the only thing is because it's juxtaposed, but not always a juxtaposed. Is that an answer for things, right? That's all. That's my question. That's my question. But what you're saying is not got to do with Pshuto Shemikra. It's got to do with what Torah comes to teach. So it comes to teach a lot of things. But that doesn't answer what's the proof from Pshuto Shemikra. Why is the need to say this? It doesn't have to say this for Pshuto Shemikra. Rashi's not here to come as give us a compendium of all of Judaism that we need to know about what will be in the time to come and so on and so forth, right? He's only for one thing. I've only come to explain the simple meaning of the text. So I'm asking, based on that, how do we understand that? That's my question, right? So that's anyway.
You're not asking the explanation of Rashi. You're asking the source of Rashi.
Right, Rashi.
Where is he getting it from?
And it's not a medrash he's getting it from. It has to be from Pshuto Shemikra. That's the question. That's the way. That's the way the Rebbe learns. That's the way the Rebbe learns. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why the Rebbe always asks so many questions on Rashi, because where's Rashi getting what he's saying from? It's not like there has to be a source for it. And the source cannot be because he quotes a medrash or he quotes the Talmud, because that's not necessarily the simple meaning. That could be a midrashic meaning, it could be a hinted meaning, it could be esoteric meaning, but that's not on the level of the simple meaning, right? So it's not a proof that he has a source, right? That's not a proof or anything. Okay, verse number 2. Ela told us Yaakov. These are the chronicles of descendants of Yaakov. Yaakov, Yosef, which is quoted this. By the way, this is also probably one of the proofs, because this verse, not only we had the last verses were the chiefs, and now this, that who's it saying? The generations of Yaakov is Yosef. What does that mean? Well, Rashi is going to have to deal with that, right? He has many other children. Why is he saying only Yosef here? Right, so that fits in with the second answer. Yosef ben Shana, Yosef was 17 years old. He was a shepherd with his brothers, Batsoin with the flock. Vahu, Nar, and he is a youth. As B'nai Bilhah with the sons of Bilhah, or B'nai Zilpah with the sons of Zilpah. Nishei Aviv, the wives of his father. V'yovei Yosef, and Yosef came as the Bosom Ra with bad report, Elavim, to their father. Okay, big Rashi over here. Eile told us Yaakov. These are the offsprings of Yaakov. Eile told us Yaakov, and these are the offsprings of Yaakov. Eile Yeshuveim, Shuvehem. These are the settlings, Vigogolehem, and the turns of the events. Achebo Klal Yishu, until they arrive to a stage of permanent residence. Siba Rishonov. This is the first cause factor. Yosef ben Shva Yisrei Shana. That is Ben Shva Yisrei, that he's 17 years old. This is the first that will cause and to bring the ultimate story that he's 17 years old. Through this, and his Galgala, he went through a chain of events. The Yardla Mitzrayim went down to Egypt. And this is an explanation which follows this resolution of simple meaning of the text. That everything has to be each word in its proper setting. Meaning, So it doesn't mean literally these are the offspring, because he has 12 offspring, right? This is the story of what's going to come about through Yosef, that will be about the Jewish people, right? The chain of events that are about to happen, right? That's what Rashi is explaining over here.
The Jews ended up in Egypt.
Yeah. In the whole chain of events, yeah. That's simple meaning. Midrash got the Derish, but the Midrash explains, Tolakos told us Yaakov Yosef, that the Jacob's offspring was put upon, the title was hung upon Yosef, only Yosef, right? Mipnei Kamadvarim, for several reasons. Achas Shekol Atma Shel Yaakov, because the whole sole purpose of Yaakov working for Lavan was for Rachel, Yosef's mother, right? That's one explanation. Second, he gives to that that his appearance was similar to his father. Right, he looked like him. That's a second reason. Third reason is everything that happened to Yosef. Everything that happened to Yaakov, Yosef, also happened to Yosef. Zeh Nistam, this one was hated. Zeh Nistam, and this one was hated. Zeh Achim and Vaksh Argu, this one the brothers want to kill him. Zeh Echav and Vakshim Largu, and this one the brothers want to kill him. Right? So three things. The Chen Harbe, and there are many things between Yaakov and Yosef, and Bereshit Rabbah is brought in the Medrash. So that's the Medrash. In other words, why specifically Yaakov's offspring is Yosef, because of the similarity between them. Got that? Okay. Continuing. And further they comment and they expound upon this. Vayeishev. This is a third point he's making now. The Yaakov settled. Because Yaakov wanted to dwell in tranquility. But then what happened? God didn't let that happen. The whole ordeal of Yosef sprung about tzaddikim. What do the righteous want? They want to dwell in tranquility. They want to just learn Torah and daven to Hashem and do mitzvahs. That's all they want, right? But God said, no. Tzaddikim. Is not sufficient what's prepared for them in the world to come, that then they will have tranquility. But they also want tranquility in this world. That's not happening. So that's why he sprung upon him the whole story of Yosef. Third explanation. Got it? Okay. Next. Vuhunar, and he's a youth. Why? We know he's 17 years old, so we know he's a youth. Why do you have to say he's a nar? Why do you have to say that? Rashi says, because he would do things associated with you. He would fix his hair, and he would groom his eyes, in order that she look attractive. Yeah, he was a teenager. There's B'nai Billah, the sons of Billah. What does that mean? Kalaima, that's to say, B'nai Billah, he was regularly found with the sons of Billah and Zilpah, the secondary wives of Yaakov, right? Lefi, why? Because his brothers would denigrate him, and he would befriend them. So, in other words, the brothers of his that were from Leah, they denigrated him. Right? He was younger than them. They denigrated him. We'll see more about that in a moment. And so he went and became close with the concubines' sons, right? He would an evil report on them. He would tell to his father. Of any evil that he would see in his brothers, B'nai Leah, the sons of Leah, he would tell his father. They would eat a limb from an animal, which, remember, they're B'nai Noach, right? You're not allowed to do that. So we're not gonna go into this, but there's a whole, deep explanation, like that they didn't do this. It wasn't a sin, but it could be perceived wrongly. Okay, but that's not for now. And they would belittle the sons of the secondary wives. They call them servants. And that they were suspect of sexual immorality. Whole debate on what that means also. And retribution, Yosef was stricken with three areas. A limb from a detached animal, as the Torah says, that they slaughtered a he-goat when they sold him, right? But they did not eat it, alive. In other words, they slaughtered an animal, right? This is against what he was saying, right? When he's punished for what he did, this is against what he did. He's saying that they ate a limb from a live animal. They slaughtered the animal and they put the blood on the coats. We'll see, right?
It's driven you down here.
Please.
It's driven you down here.
Right? That was the first thing. And that report that he related about them, that they call their brothers servants. The Torah says, Yosef was sold as a slave. Right? In other words, this is a whole. They're both right on both sides. Again, that's not for now. But they're both right. Both right and both wrong, shall we say. And concerning sexual immorality, he spoke about them. But what happened? The master's wife cast his eyes on Yosef. She wanted to be with him, right? So all the things that he said about them, this is what occurred to him later on. Okay? Interesting that Rashi says this over here. My question is, how does Rashi, why does Rashi say something that's only going to be in the future, right? We only know this in the future that these three things are going to happen. They don't happen now, but yet Rashi's explaining over here. I think maybe like, why is it called Ra? Why is it called evil? Because the evil will be perpetrated to him. That which he, I don't know. We have to see the Rebbe Sikha on it. But you follow my question is like, from the text itself, how does it ooze out that the point that he just makes is something that's only going to be in the future? Right? Remember, simple meaning means what? What does it mean, simple meaning? Who can explain that to me? What does it mean? From the text, it has to be learned out, or from the context, right? From the context. It doesn't have to be those words or that verse necessarily, but it has to be in the context. How in the context over here is Rashi saying these three things? First of all, we don't know what the three things are from the text. And I mean, the only reason we know them is because later on these things happened to him. But that's only later on. How would it be from this text over here? You would get this notion. So it has to be something about the word Ra, I think, that it's evil. That's what I'm thinking. But, okay, the word dibasam, Rashi, Lashon, Kol Lashon Diba, the word of Liba in, Diba rather, in Old French, parledis. Whatever he was able to speak evil about them, he would relate. The word diba relates to the word moving your lips. Moving your lips. Wow. Okay. Fascinating. Verse number 3. We're good? Okay. Israel and Israel, meaning Yaakov, right? Ohev is Yosef. He loved Yosef from all of his sons. He ben Kunim Huloi, because he was a child of his old age. Also, like Ksainis Pasim, and made for him a Ksainis Pasim, a tunic. Rashi. Ben Zekunim, a child of his old age, so you can also, because he was born to him when he was old. Unclis Jigim, and Unclis translates Bar Chakim Hule, that he was a wise son to him. Why? Because Kumal Shalama, because all that Yaakov had learned, Mishem Be'aver, that he learned in the yeshiva of Shem Be'aver, Maser Lo, he gave it over to him. Wait, he did give over to these other children? What does that mean? What does that mean? He would have given it over to all of his children. So I don't understand that. However, Acher's an alternative explanation. Kunin Shaloi, that his splendor was the appearance to Maloi resembled Yaakov's. Remember, we had that already, right? That he looked like him. So that's why. So what's that going to do with Ben Zekunim? That he was old, in his old age. Oh, it's like it's a contraction of the word Ziv Unkinun. Okay, pasim. Lashon kli milas. It means a garment of fine wool. Kamay karpas v'sechelis. Turquoise wool. Kamay ksenis apasim. The samar ba'amnoin. Mentioned with Hamar and Amnoin. That's the simple meaning. Midrash Agada, but the Midrash explanation is pasim is used to describe Yosef's tunic. Al Shem Tzaroisa, because of his troubles, Shenimka la Paitifar, that he was sold to Paitifar, or Seichim, into merchants, or Lishmaelim, into the Ishmaelites, or Midyanim, into the Midianites. The word pasim. I'm not exactly sure.
Hashem in Hebrew means stripes.
Oh, it's an acronym. Pasim is an acronym. Paitifar, Seichim, Ishmaelim, Midianim. It's an acronym. Oh my gosh.
Incredible.
Rabbi, I have a question. You see it another example where the name Israel is used as opposed to the Yaakov.
Yeah.
Would it have been a difference they could have said, and Yaakov loved Joseph, as opposed to Israel Joseph?
I know. What would be is a difficult thing to say. What is, maybe is more. Rashi's not picking up on it because it doesn't seem in simple meaning of the text that it's such a question all the time. I guess. I don't know.
So his father is giving him a cloak, knowing the future. Because it says
And Torah is calling it this.
Huh?
The Torah calls it this. So the Torah is calling it. Who said he called it that? Right? Torah is calling it. Doesn't say here I'm giving you pasim. Yeah, Ksainas pasim. Doesn't say
he
that.
made stripes.
Okay,
He
fine.
made the stripes.
Okay. First of all, it doesn't mean, niba v'lo yadam niba.
That's another level.
Niba v'lo yadam niba. Yeah, that happens all the time, right? That's what I would say.
No. It's the first time I see it.
Yeah. Okay, verse number 4. The Yiru Echav, and his brothers saw ki oisei that he ahev aviem, their father loved Mikol Echav from all of the brothers. V'yisno oisei, and they hated him. V'lo yachlu l'daber l'sham, they could not speak peacefully to him. Rashvi. V'lo yachlu l'daber l'shalom. What do you mean you couldn't speak peacefully? V'teich nusam. This remark is disparaging. Lamadna shivcham, but we can learn their praise from this. Shaloi dibra achas bepeh. They didn't speak one thing in their mouth, ba'achas balev, and another thing in their heart. In other words, they weren't hypocritical. What they felt, they expressed. It's interesting that Rashi points this out, right? If they already hated him, so to say that they wouldn't speak peaceably to him is not adding anything, right? The fact that what it's adding then is that it's a praise. The praise is that they weren't, one in the mouth and one in the heart. They were, huh?
They would not be hypocrites.
Right, exactly.
As it is.
Again, I don't think you're following what you got to follow what I'm explaining. You're taking an idea and you're not taking it from the point I'm making, because your emphasis is always the idea. The point I'm making is how Rashi learned it out. That was my point over here. Not what Rashi said. Rashi said what he said, but I'm pointing out how Rashi got to it because it was superfluous to say. That was the point I just said. So please pay attention to the process, not an idea merely. Because then you're missing Chumash and Rashi. You're learning Chumash without Rashi, though. Without Rashi. Process. The fact is, how does Rashi know what he just said? Because it's superfluous. So the commentators explain, because it's superfluous to say if he hated them. So you're not going to, why is it saying that? It's saying a praise about them, that they were what they felt, they expressed. That's how Rashi knows what he just said. Okay, that's the point. Okay. Okay.
Can't you understand from the lo yachlu ledaber? They couldn't. It means they only say the truth.
Commentators say it's because it's superfluous. That phrase wasn't necessary to say it. Dabru. This means ledaber imoy, to speak to him. Not to speak about him, but speak to him. Because they did not speak of ill to others about him. Right? In other words, it wasn't exactly. Yeah, exactly. V'yachalaim Yosef, and he dreamed Yosef chalaim, a dream. V'yagid lechav, and he told his brothers Yosef v'oid lisna Yosef, and they continued to hate him more. V'yomer aleim, and he said to him, Shimu, now please listen, hachalem hazeh, to this dream, asher chalamti, that I dreamt. Verse number 7. Hine, and behold, anachnu ma'almim, we are like sheaves, right? Of wheat, sheaves of wheat, right? Ma'almim ma'alumim misaychasadan, and we are sheaves of wheat in the middle of the field. V'hine kama alumasi, and behold, my sheaf arose. V'gam nitzavan also stood. V'hine to subena, and behold, bow down, alumasechem, your sheaves bow down, and you bow down to me. Oh, good. That's so wonderful to tell brothers that hate you. Such a dream. Rashi, malumim, this should be understood. Targuma should be understood according to Uncle's translation. Asim, asarim, means sheaves, binded sheaves. Carrying the sheaves, kamo belashim mishnah, aluma isneitel umachris. Okay, kama aluma. See, my sheaf rose, v'niz gafa, and stood erect. Gam nitzava. What do you mean? Then it stood. Then it also stood. Lamoid al amda, to remain standing in its position, bizikifa, erectly. I was like, mine really stood its place. You know, you ain't moving me, right? That's what the the connotation is, right? You ain't moving me. Yeah, it's from that's where he quotes. That's where he just quoted from. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. He was quoting that to bring an example of that it means bound sheaves of wheat. Verse number 8, and they said to him, of his brothers, rule, you shall rule aleinu, upon us. Imashol timshal banu, that you will be a dominant force over us. And they continued further, to hate him. Al chalamoisav asher v'al on his dreams and his words. Kirashi al dvarav. So Rashi picks up. What do you mean on his words? What does it mean on the dreams? Separate from his words, right? Rashi picks up on says al dvarav al dibosam ra, on the evil reports about them. Shaya maybe laviem, they would bring to their father. That's what it means, right? Not referring to the dream. The dream is one thing, and the fact that he would, share with them other things. He would share with his father other things that they felt that he did evil. Okay, verse number 9. Then he dreamed further, another dream, and he related the dream, to his brothers. And he said, Hine chalamti, behold, I have dreamed, a dream, oid, and further one, v'hine, and behold, Hashemesh, the sun, the hayareach, and the moon, and 11 stars, mishtachavim li, they are bowing down to me. Verse number 10, and he related it to his brothers, to his father rather. And he related to his father, and to his brothers. Right? He told it. The Yigar boy, Aviv, and his father gave it to him. He scolded him. Right? And he said, Ma chalim. What is his dream? Hazeh, this dream. Asher chalamta, that you have dreamt. Havoy navoy. Come, we will come. Ani, me, the imcha, and your mother. Where's his mother? Where is she? She passed. She passed away, right? So just get no, that's his mother. His mother's not. This is Yosef. Who's his mother? Who's his mother? Rachel. Where is she? She passed away. Just take note of that, okay? V'imcha, and your mother, v'achecha, and your brothers, yishach v'zocha arsa, to bow to you to the ground. Rashi, I want to help you learn Chumash and Rashi. I'm helping you. I'm tough on you. I hope you appreciate it. If you're weak of heart and the ego is big, so then you'll be very disturbed. But if you are,
It's not an ego. It's good for us.
But if you really want to learn, then this is going to be the way you're going to learn, because to be tough on you, to to otherwise it's so easy to lose focus. So it's God forbid nothing personal. Okay. So he related to his father and his brothers. After he related to his brothers, then he repeated and related to his father bifneihem in their presence. That's very interesting how Rashi got that. You follow what he just said? First he told the brothers, then he repeated again to his brothers in front of his father. Well, how does he get that, Rashi, exactly?
It's the opposite in the text.
Right, I'm saying, how does he get that from the text? That's the question. How does Rashi get that from the text when it doesn't seem to suggest that? Okay, let's go further. The Yigar boy, and he scolded him, his father, Lefi Shahaya Matil Sina Allah, because he was breeding hatred against himself. Havay Navay, now he makes his point to him. Come, we will come. Halay Imcha Kvar Mesa, isn't your mother already dead? All right, how could she bow down to you? And Yaakov did not know Shahadvarim that the words of a dream, Magim, Labila, are applying to Bila. Shigid like Imoy, because she raised him like a mother. Ah, correct. That's the first explanation. Rabbi Seinu, Lam Mikan, our sages learned out from here, She'ein Chaloim, that there is no dream below Dvarim B'Telim that does not have senseless matters in it. In other words, a dream is not perfect in every detail. There will be some things in a dream that will be senseless, right? Yaakov niskaven lohitzi adavar, but Yaakov intended to remove this matter mileiv bana from the heart of his sons, shelo yiknu, that they should not be jealous of Yosef. The kachamar. That's why Yosef said, "Hava novei, are we going to come, and I and your mother?" To imply, kashem she'yefsha she'im b'imcha, just it's impossible for the dream to come true about your mother. Kach and ashar who batal. Likewise, the rest of it is nullified. Yaakov knows that a dream is not perfectly in every detail. So why do you say this? Because he wanted the brothers not to be jealous of him and not to and not to hate him more. So therefore he said, "What? We're going to come just like your mother." This is the second explanation, right? Not the first explanation. Just like your mother isn't alive, so that's not true. The rest is also not true. He doesn't mean that. He doesn't mean that. He just wants to make sure that the brothers are listening, right? And that they shouldn't hate him anymore.
That's the proof for the order, because Vayiga Bo, that means he already told his brothers, and now he's trying to make it softer that they wouldn't hate him.
Yeah, but it could all have been
telling it to him second.
Yeah, but they were there listening, so it could have been at the same time. But maybe I hear what you're saying. It's still not so perfect exactly, because it could have been at the same time that they were there and they said it. Again, it's not. I don't see that as a sufficient. I mean, it could imply that somewhat. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not certain that that's strong enough to prove it. And it has to be that way. Why couldn't it be that they said it the first time in front of the brothers, right? Because for Yaakov was the first time, right? Okay. Yeah, we're good. Okay, last verse. V'yikanu bo Yaakov, and they were jealous in him, his brothers. The Aviv Shamar Zadavar, and his father, he waited for the thing. Ooh, what's this? Let's see. Rashi picks up. This is a very unusual term, right? What do you mean he guarded, he heeded, he watched over? He waited. Shamar Zadavar, he waited for the matter. He was waiting. It's happened, looking forward. Masa Yavai, when it would come true. In other words, he knew that this is the truth. He knew it. He just didn't know. First of all, he didn't know how it's going to play out. And he didn't know, right? But he's waiting. That's what the word Shemer, they're waiting fulfillment of God's promise. Something. Wow. Amazing.
Was Yosef? Was Yosef?
That's I wouldn't say that. I would not say.
No. No? Just a little bit immature.
He's
He's young. He's young.
What are we gonna do tomorrow? Tomorrow. Yeah, the course. Tomorrow night. You have manuscript, no? Is it tomorrow manuscript? So what do you do about the course of your conversion? And maybe I'll speak to Rabbi Whitman if he can put it one day.
It's not there.
Huh?
Rabbi Wallach, the teacher, is not there tomorrow.
all right, folks. We'll see you by Tanya in a few moments.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Huh? He's in New York.
I hope I'm not too tough on you guys online either. Am I okay with you? You're
Yes,
all right with me?
absolutely.
Forgive me.
Everything is fine.